We're on.
Hello.
Welcome,
Wildflowers. I'm
Woo.
Judy.
I'm Carol.
And
I'm
we're
Peggy.
Peggy.
And
I'm Lisa.
We have a special guest.
yes, we do. And this is number 60. Why did I hold up my hand like this? This is number 60.
Here, 60 plus. There it is, 60.
And up at the zero.
That's
All right, can you
awesome.
see me on the camera? Because I can't
Yes.
see with the light.
Yes.
Well,
Yes, I can see
I have
yeah.
it flipped to
I can
Andrew.
see you,
Carol
yes.
makes me do that.
I do. I make a flip.
Oh, wait, there I am. Okay.
Okay, we're probably gonna get hit. Whatever.
Well,
You know what?
let's just start. So we have a special guest.
Yes, we do. We have Lisa. We actually had Lisa's sister here about a year ago.
It was
Kathy.
it was during our holiday
Yep.
episode too.
Yep, and this is gonna have to be a little sort of. No, we have another one coming up for a holiday.
Yeah, one more before.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So thank you, Lisa. But there's a
You're
purpose
welcome.
we invited her here. Because we didn't want her to feel left out. Because
her sister, she's
was
very
there.
jealous.
Nagging and nagging.
No. Yeah, it's like,
Sibling rivalry.
yeah, no. But our topic, what we're going to be talking about, is going to include what Lisa can help us weigh in on. But how you guys doing since our last podcast?
Oh, fine.
Wow, we still have an audience member. I couldn't
We sure
get rid of him for the whole time since our last podcast.
I know. What, did he sleep over?
Yeah. My little brother, he just loves
I
me
thought
so
he was
much.
going to the Philippines. What happened?
We're going back to
Right,
Well,
rewind.
You know, if you give him wine, he's gonna stay.
Oh,
so there he is.
I kind of don't blame him at all. You know what? What did I had something to share here?
Me too.
Oh, you do too.
But it's a word.
Okay, I would
Oh,
love to
good.
hear
I
your
don't
word.
have anything for
Oh,
this
good, because I
podcast.
didn't think I had one, but I do. And I looked on my phone because I told you when I read, I start looking up the words that I
Yep.
read, and then I save them in my phone.
So
But-
she's going to go first, Carol. She's one up in you.
There we are. That's okay.
Whatever.
You see the power play I'm doing.
Right.
All right. Does anybody know what brassica means?
Brassica?
Brassica. Brassica.
No, I don't. Does
I don't
it have
know.
anything
I
to
don't
do
think
with
I've ever
brass?
heard- yeah, I
Has nothing to do with brass.
Brassica.
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 Let me.
I am fed up with all the brassica around here.
Peggy is such a brassica.
No, actually, I was shocked with this definition. It means a family of plants that includes cabbage, broccoli, and turnips, or a plant from this family. So, for example, he grows mainly brassicas. A family that includes radish. You could use this in the food pantry.
Yes,
Say,
definitely.
Do you have any brassica? Would you like some?
We always have cabbage and
Yes.
what else was there? Cabbage and
turnips.
turnips.
let's
We don't
see.
usually have turnips. We have beets. Are
Okay.
they
Ooh, I
part
love
of it?
beets.
Radish, turnip. Radish, cabbage, mustard, cauliflower, turnips, and broccoli.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I like most of that stuff.
Brassica. So
you
do
like
I.
brassica? I love brassica.
I like brassica.
You like
too.
brassica?
Yes,
I
I
have it
do.
all the time.
I know my
Yeah.
brother loves brassica. There you go.
Okay, okay.
We have to start
Awesome.
bringing that word back
Okay,
in.
brassica. We
Brassica.
will. I'm going to serve some brassica for dinner tonight.
Well, I have this to share, which
Oh gosh,
it was in today's New York Times. I'm like, what is this? Is it America? We are sorry.
that's a big ad.
Yes, and it's all about maple syrup. And when you go into a restaurant and you see the little syrups that they have, it's not real maple syrup, and
No.
it's something I always get very frustrated with because I like the real maple. Even my kids, they don't realize that it's corn syrup.
Yes.
I'm like, it's flavored corn syrup.
Yeah, my grandkids don't like real maple
Yeah,
syrup.
and
They
that's
always
how-
want like Aunt
I'm
Jemima
bringing
or
some with me
something.
to the Philippines.
Say it
Yeah.
again?
I'm bringing a bunch with me to
You
the
mean
Philippines.
Really?
Oh, okay.
You mean
the
pearl
real
milling.
stuff
The
or
real
the
stuff.
Aunt Jemima?
No, the real stuff.
Yeah.
The real stuff,
Peggy,
absolutely.
you
Well,
mean
now,
pearl milling.
when you're in a
A
restaurant,
what?
Pearl milling, not Aunt Jemima.
Oh, is
Yes,
that? Oh,
it's
okay.
changed.
Well, whatever. They like the fake stuff.
My kids
the
do
corn
too.
syrup
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah, so do my kids, and it makes me crazy because I like the real
I like
maple
the
syrup.
real.
Here I do.
But
too.
now if you're in a diner or a restaurant and they have it on the table and it's not the real maple syrup, if you ask for the real maple syrup and you have to pay extra for it, the maple syrup company, you send them the bill, they will reimburse you for
Oh,
that.
that's pretty
Oh.
cool.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is great.
So I
Yeah.
found that very interesting because I mean, you know, a lot of these restaurants are like, oh, it's not real maple
They
syrup.
probably don't even have the real stuff anyway if they're serving you the other stuff.
They're probably
True.
not.
And
That's-
many restaurants do not have real butter.
Right, yeah, that's true too.
But it
yeah.
is. Remember when we went to go look at the maple sugary
Yes.
place to buy? Yeah, upstate.
Well, actually, my friend, in school, when I was in our class trip, when I was like in grade school, we went to her father's maple syrup place because they would tap the trees up there, and you saw how the maple syrup
Yeah.
was made. And but I gotta say, when I grew up, my mom only served corn syrup
Because it was cheaper.
It was
is
much cheaper.
The real stuff is very expensive.
Yeah. We had the fake,
Yes.
Yeah.
pancake syrup.
That's what we had
we
too.
had.
growing
We
up,
didn't
yeah.
have real maple syrup.
Well, neither did
Yeah,
we,
when we
which,
were kids.
and we didn't have real butter, and I lived on a farm.
No,
Yeah,
we had
we
real
survived.
butter.
We
We
did,
were real
yeah.
butter. My mother would never use margarine.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. When I tasted
did.
butter,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is good. Anyway. I'm thirsty.
Here.
Oh, no,
I don't have enough for all of us, and you don't like white wines.
I do. I like white wine.
Okay, so anyway, I am doing something that none of us have. You've never
Never
tried
had
it. Never tried it. Never tried it. Never tried it.
no.
None of us have ever tried this varietal. I am very familiar with the vineyard because they're in Oregon and they do very good Pinot Noirs.
What's it called?
It's Willamette Valley Vineyards in
Okay.
Oregon. And that their Pinot Noirs are good. One of my sisters, my sister Nora, loves all Oregon Pinot
Oh,
Noirs.
okay.
Okay.
So, and her favorite is from this vineyard.
All right.
So anyway, this is a white Pinot Noir.
Oh, so
wild.
we had the red before.
Yeah,
and
this
now we
is a
have the
white
white.
one.
And you had no idea she was
And the
No, I
reason
didn't.
why it's white is because they squeeze the juice out of the grapes without no skins.
right.
So and that's
Okay.
why it's white. So it's made with the Pinot Noir grape.
Isn't that what we were told we were in Paris? Isn't that what our
Yeah,
sommelier
well
told us?
that the skins determines the color and
Right.
how long
Right.
the wine sits in the skins, blah blah
Right.
blah.
Sherlock,
All right.
no.
So I will pour.
Okay, you don't have to pour a lot.
No, I'm not because I think
That's
I'm gonna
good.
run out,
Yeah,
and
that's
these are
good.
big glasses.
Yeah. All right.
That's for you.
This is Judy's.
Andrew, yes, you have
We
yours.
got some, thank you.
And how did you come across this one?
I was just searching around for Pinot Noirs because I was going to Delaware to visit my sister who loves them, and then this one popped up, and I said, "Oh,
Wait, when you were in Delaware, you bought this?
no!" And I was bringing wine
Oh,
with
that's
me
right.
to Delaware,
Right, that's
so I
right.
It
Okay.
smells like something familiar. I can't remember.
okay. So anyway, the aroma. Let's sniff it all up
Yeah.
here and see what you smell.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Like citrusy for sure.
Yep.
That was my sommelier speaking.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong paper. I'm looking at Toothsome
Oh.
from the last podcast.
Cheers. I hope it is.
Okay, so the highlight of the aromas are something I never heard of, white strawberry.
Oh,
I
okay.
never heard of white strawberry.
Now you have.
Peach and florals.
I was getting peach.
Where are you
Oh,
getting
yeah.
peach?
See that?
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
now you want to taste it?
Sure. If I have
You
to.
sure?
If I have to.
The color is very interesting too.
Mm-hmm. Yummy. That's a good wine word. Yummy.
Yummy. Yes, I love that. Yummy. No.
This is not bad on the first taste.
It's very
No,
good.
you know,
I
you're
like
right.
it.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I feel like it might be acidic.
No, I don't
Oh,
get
I
that.
don't think so.
I don't
at
get
all.
The way it went
But
down.
it does have lemon. One of the
Oh.
palate on your palate. It's
Maybe that's the
lemon.
smell. Something was familiar about this smell. I'm like, what is this? It's reminding me of something.
What is our
Okay,
guest
yeah.
thing?
Oh, I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
and
Do you-
something
Very-
I
it's
never
very
heard of
light.
in a wine before. Maybe Andrew has. Candied ginger.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I wasn't getting that. It's
Yeah.
almost like buttery. I don't know. It's weird.
It is. Well, it's very creamy.
Oh, yes.
It's
Yeah.
a creamy body
Yeah.
with lifting acidity. I meant to look up what lifting acidity meant, but I was in a hurry because this whole week, that's been me, and a smooth finish, which
It
I
does
agree
have a
with.
smooth finish, yeah.
It's very good. It's a very like is it smooth?
I
Clean
feel like
drink.
I feel
It's
like
very
it's
clean.
Nice.
summery. I would drink
Yeah,
that like this.
refreshing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, well, they described it, some of the reviews, as crisp and flavorful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like for fall. This would be
Uh-huh.
a fall for me. This would be a fall.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me,
Fall,
it's summer.
really? Yeah, I agree
I
with
would.
you, Carol.
to me, it's every day. This is the kind of wine I like. It's like
I only drink
yeah,
this in
yeah.
the fall.
A nice dry short, like a dry Chardonnays are dry. This is dry. You know, Chardonnays. Most of them are very smooth. They have a smooth finish.
This
They have the fruity.
I
Chardonnay.
really like this.
I like this, and I
I
don't
do
like
too.
Chardonnays.
Well, this is not Chardonnay. It's Pinot
Right.
Noir.
but you're comparing it to
Well,
Chardonnay.
that's the type
Very
of
good.
wines that I like. I like dry. This isn't as full bodied as
no,
a Chardonnay,
no.
No.
but
I love it.
And-
Actually,
I love
Me
it too.
too.
It's very
I
good.
love it.
Fantastic.
All right.
Okay.
So here's a little fun fact about
fun fact.
wine grapes. 99% of red grapes have clear juice, and this is one of them, Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Wow.
So all those red grapes for the red wines, without the skins, they're white wines.
Wow. Okay.
But yet we're drinking this chilled. Yet for the red Pinot Noir,
You're
we don't
supposed to.
drink
You're
it
right. You're
chilled.
a white wines. You're supposed to chill
we need to have a.
But it's the
study
same
on
thing. It's just without the skin.
Yeah.
because it's
good.
white. I guess I don't
but,
know.
But I know it.
Well,
seriously-
actually, they say to chill it. Maybe I over chilled it. They said chill it to 45 degrees. I don't know what temperature this is,
This seems like
but I like very
37
cold
degrees.
white wines. How 37?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh well, here you don't have to drink it. Yeah. So anyway,
All right. So how much would? You
oh, I
want?
have to look at the alcohol content.
Yes.
Write
Yes.
that down.
Do that because I need to know.
I'm gonna say like
She needs to
12.
know.
$12?
no
or-
12%.
of alcohol. You're saying how much?
Uh,
Alcohol percentage.
alcohol percentage, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna maybe air a little lower, about 11.
It's definitely not as high as the
I
last.
think
Yeah.
it's about 9.5.
Really?
Yeah, it's very like light and refreshing.
I would say 13.5.
Did you look at the bottle, you little bitch?
I didn't.
It's 13.5.
Awesome.
That's deceptively strong.
And how much does this cost?
This costs.
Wait. How much would you pay?
How much?
Oh,
How much do
I
you think it
pay
costs?
a lot for this. I like it. I
Uh-huh.
would pay, I'd say $24.99 for it.
Would you buy it?
I'd buy this.
Probably not,
Okay.
only because I'm not a white wine.
Right.
I do like Riesling because
Oh.
it's sweet.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the white that I go
There are dry Rieslings, so you should
Okay.
try one of them.
She
with. Then I
likes
probably wouldn't enjoy
She doesn't
it.
like 'em, yeah,
Do
no.
you drink Moscato?
I don't know that I've ever tried that.
So how much
So
would
you
you pay?
probably wouldn't pay for anything for it.
But it,
I mean, I wouldn't turn it away. Let me tell you that right
oh,
now.
okay. So in
I
other
will-
words, you're
I enjoy
cheap
it.
and you
I
don't want to
enjoy it.
spend the money on it. But if I
But
buy
I
it,
would
you'll
probably
freaking drink
spend
it.
up to $15.
15?
If I bought
Oh,
it.
that's a good price point.
Okay.
I will say $18.95.
Okay. And what
Andrew?
did you say?
I said $24.99.
I'm actually gonna say a little more, maybe like, I don't know, $27.99, only because.
Bingo!
We have to have your brother back.
I know. It was
Say it.
actually $26.99, but that was in Total Wine. In other places,
Okay.
it was
Oh, so you got this at
$27.99.
Total Wine. Okay.
I buy all my wine at Total Wine.
You see, I turned you on.
I do.
It was me that turned you on to Total Wine.
Yeah, you did. You
That's
did.
humbling. People want to hear.
Yeah.
Ah,
She's the one that turned me on to Total Wine. Well,
I know, I
because
don't
when
get
I lived in Levittown, I had a liquor store that was
Yeah.
great, and I loved them, and they were a small business, and I
Right,
said,
right.
I'm never buying wine
Right,
in
yeah.
Total Wine.
And she said very
But then I
snarky.
moved into an area that has two crappy liquor stores, and they don't have a
That's a
good
shame.
selection
That's
of
a
wine.
shame.
Yeah.
They do have a very good wine store, but it's a little bit too pricey for me. So,
Oh, yeah.
and anyway, Total Wine delivers it right to my
Okay.
door, and
You can't
That's
beat
can't
a
beat
good deal.
that.
That's
And
a
they're-
good
No,
deal.
especially that parking lot over there.
it's in a horrible location, that
Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
So anyway, so how many wildflowers?
Oh, I
Oh.
give this a 5.
Me too.
Definitely.
goodness.
Definitely give it a 5. I love it.
Oh.
I really, really like it.
I do too. I will buy this
And I
again.
love the color. I think it's so interesting. The color.
Yeah, it's kind of
It
pale.
almost looks blush, but it's
Yeah.
not really blush. But you can hint that maybe it used to be
you-
red.
It's hard to tell in this light.
I know, but I'm not allowed to turn it up because the camera.
Yeah, it's pretty pale.
I love it.
I would give it 5.
Wow! And
I
this
know.
is somebody who doesn't drink white wine.
No, but for a white wine, I would
It's
definitely.
Yeah.
with
You
that.
did that with the V&A also.
Probably
Yes.
4.5.
Oh,
Oh,
look at
wow.
that. Very
See,
good.
another
Yes.
non-white wine
And
How about
drinker.
you, Drew?
Yeah, so I'm not really a white wine fan either, except maybe Chardonnay. But this is more like an albino red because of it. It's a
Mm.
color.
Well, I know,
So,
yeah.
I love the
You
nose
can
on
tell
it.
you're
I give it
probably
a 5 as well.
I
Wow.
taught him everything I know.
Yeah. yeah, this, I would also give it a 5.
Yay! Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so
Wow,
good
you know
job,
Can I tell
Williamette
you?
Valley Vineyards.
After the wines that we had a few podcasts ago, this is really
This is a good. We've had. We were
Yeah,
on a
we had
losing
some.
streak.
We had some really
Oh,
crappy
oh,
ones.
so bad. It was so bad that Peggy goes, I'm taking this off the table.
I know.
We did. We're like that. We couldn't even look at it.
Yeah.
It was a Long
Yeah.
Island wine.
That was one of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you telling
We don't
me.
say that name anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so who does the book?
I do, and I'm very excited to do this book. I read it so quickly. This book is called The Woman They Could Not Silence. It's by Kate Moore, who
Oh, I
wrote
love Kate Moore.
The Radium Girls. I don't know if you heard that book, and it's got I love the subtitle. It's called The Shocking Story of a Woman Who Dared to Fight Back. And this is a nonfiction book, but it reads like a novel, and which is what
That's how she writes.
That's how she writes. So,
Yeah.
as I was reading, as you see, it's very big, and I have lots of notes in it because it's just there was so much going on. I had to stop and remind myself that this wasn't
Oh,
story.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
and because she uses a lot of quotes throughout this book, and they're all, she does a little forward in the beginning that they were all taken from either letters, personal letters, court transcripts, newspaper
Oh, right up your
quotes,
alley.
so there's a lot of documentation, so you know that you're getting an accurate
Right.
story here. And her bibliography goes on, the citations
Wow.
go on forever
Yeah.
because she has good cite sources as well. So this book, okay, it tells the story. Okay, first it came out in 2021 or 2022. I couldn't quite figure it out. It's by Source Books. I always like to
What source book?
Yeah.
give this the
Publisher.
credit to it. There's a quote in the beginning of it, and it's by. I just wanted to read it because it's just so cool. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a little long. There's just too much to say
come
here.
on,
No,
huh?
no. You gotta hear it.
Jesus.
Okay. Oh. What are you saying?
No, no.
I heard I forgot to change my underwear.
No,
That's
No. I forgot to change my shirt.
For us to change the podcast.
I'll be right back.
No,
That's fine. We all know.
It's all
All right,
good.
I'm not
I
going
will
to
not judge. 2 weeks that you've had the same
That's
shirt
right.
on.
Yes.
This quote is from a woman
It's
named
okay.
Roxanne Gay, and it says, "Unruly women are always witches, no matter what century they are in."
Yep.
Right?
That's true.
And
Yep.
so this is set in the 1860s, about 160 years ago, and it tells the story of a woman called Elizabeth Packard. I've never heard of her before.
Mm-mm.
We should know
Well,
who
we don't
Elizabeth
know a
Packard
lot
is.
about
A lot of
women
women,
in history, or black people in
Oh.
history, or Hispanic people in history.
This, I just feel so inadequate after I read this book, but this
Yeah.
woman, holy moly. Okay, so like I said, reads like a novel. I said all the quotes. All right. She was married to a man named Theophilus or Theophilus, whatever you pronounce this
Theophilus.
awful name. Let's call him Theo. And she had 5 children, and he was a pastor in Illinois somewhere. They lived in Massachusetts originally. He had a parish in Illinois, and it was kind of like an arranged marriage. Of course, he was older, she was younger, but they lived relatively contently, for a while until she started speaking her mind.
Oh, until he found out she has a brain.
Right, and she was so astute. I mean, so clever, and just, her brain, and she didn't have any formal education, but she was very, very intelligent. And he, at some point in his career, he he taught primarily from the New Testament, I think, and a very wealthy parishioner who had a lot of money was just not happy with these New Testament teachers and wanted the Old Testament being taught. You can guess why.
Yeah.
And so her husband started switching to that, and she voiced her objections, and she taught Bible school and all that, and it was making it difficult for him professionally, because you can't have the parishioner's wife being so outspoken against these new teachings. So what do? Which is what a lot of husbands did who had similar circumstances.
Put them in an insane asylum.
Put them in an insane asylum.
Oh God, it was so common.
And
back
you
then.
talked about, and it was so common. And here, I just wanted to talk. They have a chart here on page 39. I can't see the words because they're so tiny. The light is so dim.
Well,
Here.
wait, let me see.
Oh, here. There's like a table here. We all would probably, if we were married to Theophiluses, be committed to a sane asylum. This is a listing of,
Unless I had a gun.
you know, causes of insanity. Oh yeah, let me use my.
Yeah,
that's good. Causes of insanity at the Illinois State Hospital where she was put in. Domestic trouble, there were 33 women. Religious excitement, 32 women. Business anxiety, 16. Death of friends, people were committed, 13. Puerperal, I looked that word up and I forgot what it means. I gotta look up again. Disappointed love. Overexertion, vicious indulgences, spiritualism, hard study, physical injury, change of life, sunstroke, intemperance, novel reading.
Oh, novel! I know.
Yeah.
I've read that
Fear.
many times before.
Brain fever, epilepsy, paralysis, hereditary, and just unknown. There's 100 and something people just unknown.
Let's put them in. Let's put them
Yeah.
in.
It was just really any reason
Hubby,
why
hubby
you
wasn't
want-
happy.
Right,
and you weren't
exactly.
entitled to a trial. It was just if your husband said so, and you could find maybe in states vary, but in Illinois, which was a lot like of other states at the time, 2 witnesses who may not have even met you
Yeah.
would say here.
Your husband's colleagues.
Then the
yeah.
husband drives you to
Right.
the insane asylum, puts you on a train like they did her. They had to physically carry her because she wouldn't move.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't go. And they carried her physically onto the train and physically carried her off the train. And once you're there, you're there.
Mm-hmm.
There were women, there were floors, the number of women outnumbered the amount of men in these asylums by drastic numbers.
Yeah.
And the devices that they used were mostly primarily on women rather than men, such as, I have so many notes.
Like lobotomies type of thing.
No,
Well, they
that-
also put them in cold water. Or,
Cold water was
Uh-huh.
was one of the big ones. Sterilization was another one.
Right.
So that was a continued practice until 1940. The last
Not
known
that long ago.
the last known recorded victim of that was 5 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
For sterilization.
I gotta read
And
this.
this was a practice that was promoted in textbooks published in the United States at
It
the
does
time.
not surprise me.
Another one, what they use, and I think I wrote it down here somewhere. Was where they would put. I know I wrote it down, but anyway, was where they would put a device called a Scold's brindle, and I wrote page 150 because it was just to. I gotta read it right from here.
Scolds is a woman who speaks her mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
Okay, a metal muzzle with an iron bit that could be placed on a woman's tongue to stop her from speaking.
Mm-hmm.
The most torturous types had a spike attached that would pierce her tongue if she tried. This restraint was rarely found necessary among males. And these are quotes.
Yeah.
And so how could a woman get out of that? Well, they were deemed cured if they were, these are quotes from the Dr. Andrew McFarland, who was the main doctor who governed this hospital at the time, very highly regarded in his field. Quiet, decorous in manners and language, attentive to their dress, because you can't be messy. Even though you have 5 kids, you always had to be looking completely put together.
Donna Reed.
And disposed to useful activity. Useful meaning like cooking
Yes,
or
housework,
knitting or sewing
childcare,
or something
yep.
like that. Okay.
Not reading novels, that's
So-
for sure.
I don't want to give way too much away because, like I said, it moves like a novel. But I'm just saying this is a woman who was there for years. as a lot of other women do. And because she was so smart, she kept notes. You'll see, because paper
So
wasn't.
you've got the notes that she.
Oh yeah,
I
and
gotta
this
read
is
that.
how she saved all of this stuff, and she ended up winning her freedom essentially. But it wasn't. It was just the beginning of a hurdle, because when she comes back, her husband just wants to commit her. She got released from Illinois. He wants to commit her in a different state
Wow.
because he wants to move. She kept first, while he was making those arrangements to move to Massachusetts to get her in that hospital, because Illinois released her. He confines her into her own home, not allowed to leave her room. Thankfully, she had good friends who filed a writ of habeas corpus and actually got her a hearing before a court where she won. You think, yay, she wins.
Right.
Oh no, she
Yeah.
doesn't win, because he just takes the kids, moves to Massachusetts. She can't go to Massachusetts because she'll be committed if she
Yeah.
goes there, because every state is different. So this woman fights her. She was a writer, an orator, and she wrote pamphlets. And she had no money because he took her property too. Because
Yeah,
women
of
can't own
course.
property
Right,
at
yeah.
the time,
Yeah,
even
she
though
had no rights.
she had property of her own that she came into with marriage. That all goes to the husband. So she wrote pamphlets and got them published and would sell them for like the equivalent of maybe like $4 our money.
Yeah.
And she went door to door selling them. And she would speak and she would lobby her state representatives and talk to anybody who would listen. And she ended up, at the end of the day, passing 34 bills
Oh wow.
Wow.
in 24 states. She got the independent bodies to oversee mental health hospitals, because no independent body at all
Yeah.
would review what's going on in these. It was her that got that all done. She also secured postal rights for the patients in mental hospitals, because she would write letters when she's in it to all of her friends asking for
Yeah.
help. Andrew McFarland, the doctor, would just take these letters.
Yeah.
And also took the letters from her kids that they'd write. And so they never got letters from her. She never got letters from them. Nobody. And none of the
Wow.
patients did.
Wow.
And this is what happened. And I'm not going to tell you what happened at the end, because the tables really turned at the end. But let's just say, not only did she pass all of
she
that,
killed her husband.
you're going to be shocked with what happens to the husband.
Oh, okay, good.
Absolutely shocked
In
with
a
what
good way,
happened.
let's hope, yeah.
You know, and so she didn't, let's say, you know, she did quite well even financially,
Oh,
you
good.
know, with just her gumption and her
Right.
intelligence. But
Yeah.
look, she secured
Her
the rights.
determination.
Her determination, and she ended up getting like a Andrew McFarland fired. It took many years.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry, no, not fired. The board recommended his firing, but at the end, he committed suicide after everything.
Good.
Oh, wow.
Good.
But she was publicly too humiliated. Would have killed anybody to be publicly humiliated in a moral capacity too. You
Yeah.
got to hear the scandals that went on
I
and
bet.
shamed, and she rose from it all. She's like the phoenix.
Yeah.
And this book was I'm so grateful to Kate Moore for writing this book.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate.
And it's so well written, and it reads like it. This is a nonfiction book you would
I'm
love.
gonna read it. I am
Yeah.
gonna read it.
Good.
But this is
It's
the
so
problem. When I start reading
Yeah.
the books that you already reviewed,
I know, I
now I
know,
said how
I know.
I have need
But
time.
you know, I give you the book, so you can keep it as long as you want, and keep it and pass it on,
I
because
kinda
books
wanted
like
it,
that
but-
are good. Oh, you take it.
No, I'm
no,
Yeah.
no, I don't want
Yeah.
you sulking all night and whining. You take it.
Please
No,
go
no,
out and buy
seriously,
this book and read
Yeah,
this
no,
book.
you know what? I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
It's such
No,
a good
no,
book.
borrow it first.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, I don't know when I'm going to get to it.
Well, I don't either.
But look at this book.
How
Look at how
about-
long it is. I read this in a week.
All right, how about
That's
if
it.
I promise to read it right away?
Okay.
Because I have a backup for a
Oh,
book.
sounds perfect.
Okay.
You talked about a little bit about
I know
this.
I did from that short story
From the
book
short
that
story.
was edited by Joyce Carol Oates.
This goes into so much detail. You would be
This is
shocked at what's
fascinating.
happening in there.
Fascinating.
And what happened, and why, again, we need to protect women's rights.
And it's so
and
interesting.
property
Oh,
rights of
yes.
women. Right?
And it wasn't really that long ago.
160 years ago.
And not only that, I hate bringing up his name again, but when Trump said the woman that was interviewing him and said, oh, I think she was bleeding. You know, and remember that?
Oh, that reminds me of something I wanted to read. Yes, go ahead, continue.
No, well, that's not, you know,
I think
and it was
we
just,
have a little bit more wine, so everybody gets a little drop. You
Okay.
need some? Come
I'm
over
good.
here.
You guys enjoy.
um,
I'm so
Yes.
Oh, wow.
well, and you know, just like, and then, or I'll say, always say like how the
Lisa?
women are
No, I'm good, thank you.
hysterical, pour for yourself.
What, you don't want any?
Just a touch, but give yourself more.
You rated it a 5.
I know, but you love it too.
Well, she wrote a postscript, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. but
Okay.
I have a little drop here for you.
Okay.
Come here. I'll top you
Quote.
off.
Ready? Quote, pray for her, he urged. She is a, quote, very sick person. The woman in question stood before him, the only woman in a room of men. She pointed a
Not
finger.
really a little drop.
She pointed a finger. She spoke back, a woman who refused to be silenced. He suspected there was, quote, something wrong with her upstairs. How else to explain this, quote, unhinged meltdown in which she dared defy him? It could have been Elizabeth Packard, right, confronting McFarland in the fall of 1860. It was Nancy Pelosi versus Donald Trump in October 2019.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
whenever a woman is bold enough to speak,
Right.
she's
There's something
attacked
wrong.
for
Yep.
her delusion.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yep. But, and it's so
Yeah.
true because even like how we're raised as women, I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for all of you, but I know how I was raised. It was like, you know, you just were obedient and,
I had the mother that went out and decided we needed to play soccer.
oh, that's right.
And she went out and bought a book on how to play soccer. She bought a whistle and a clipboard. And then she realized we couldn't get fields because the boys had all the fields. So she went door to door and got 2,000 signatures and started opening up the fields to the girls in Massapequa,
Good
which
for her.
happens to be one of the bigger school
Clubs.
districts for soccer for
Yeah.
girls. So thank you, Mom,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
for
my gosh.
sticking up for us.
Well, that was such a
Absolutely.
good example for you and
Yeah.
not only just you and Kathy, but Nikki too.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
a very good
Yeah.
example.
That's a very good.
You know, it's I'm very impressed.
But you
with
were
that.
right. You were saying you didn't have that kind of.
Not real, and yes and no. Like, you know, the girls were expected, my sister and I were expected to help out. My father had a sawmill. We had to help out in the sawmill. We had to help at the farm. But my brothers didn't have to help with the cleaning in the house or with the dishes. But we still had to do that, though, too.
Right.
And my father was great. My mother was great. It's not like, you know, it was like, oh, boo-hoo. But no, it was just like that.
That was the
That's-
mindset
yeah,
at that
the mind-
time.
You had to do
Exactly.
everything.
Uh-huh.
Right.
You had
Right.
to do
That
everything.
mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it was. But that is such a fascinating book. So
I am so
once
grateful
again,
I read that
The
book.
name is The Woman They Could Not Silence.
Elizabeth Packard. Look her up.
That's-
She should be on a stamp.
Really?
There's a
Absolutely.
picture
They
of her.
should do
too.
a documentary on her.
Yeah.
Maybe they have. I didn't look at that.
How
Maybe
did you
they
come across this book?
I was in Barnes and Noble. That's where I bought the book, looking in the nonfiction in the history section because I'm not a history person. My brother, as you know, is, and my girls are. My husband is, and I'm trying to get a little more educated with different
Right, yeah.
concepts in history. And I picked up one other book, and I just saw the spine out like this, and I was like, oh, what is this? And so I
this
grabbed
book
it.
is about me.
I was like, yeah, well, yeah, you can't keep me quiet. So yeah, and it just caught the title.
Yeah.
You got it for me, but it wasn't like faced out. It was just this spine
Right.
out, and they just had one copy. And so I bought it the one in Massapequa,
Cool.
actually.
Very cool. Thank you, Judy.
You're
That's
welcome.
Yes, that was very good.
Oh God. Well, I didn't write it, but
I don't think we ever plotted for the
I know. How about how many wildflowers?
Oh, 5, 10, 20.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was such
Yeah.
it was because nonfiction can be dry.
Right.
Yes,
Yes, it can
She
be.
has got such a talent, and like my daughter Willow read Radium Girls, you know,
Yeah.
and so
well,
she
we
can read
had
it. Yeah.
her in our store
Yeah,
for
we host-
Radium Girls.
yeah,
we
we host
hosted
a-
an event.
or-
Yeah, so she's just got a very gift of a writer to make
Ouch.
you engaged and so passionately about a story for all ages. Because look,
Right.
Willow has Radium Girls. We just
Right,
like
yeah.
it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you get so excited about books. No, I do. I love that. I think that is so awesome.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I get excited about wine. No, I like
No,
wine.
you get excited
I get
about
excited.
books.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
I was just making a joke. But
Okay.
it's my turn to
Yeah.
do the topic.
What are we talking
Yes.
about?
Well, this is why Lisa's here because
I was
I
wondering why you invited her.
We have a new Wildflower.
well, I'm doing the topic. I was like traditions and cultures, and like I was thinking about it, and so I'm going to do 3 different subjects of weddings, funerals, and births, and different
Okay.
cultures and traditions in other countries and that kind of thing. And I also was thinking that not only is it other countries, but I know even myself as a kid, when I went to stay at a friend's house overnight or whatever, I could see different things that they did in their house that was like, oh, we don't do that. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I had one friend whose parents screamed at each other. And I'm just like, we don't do that in my house. My parents never screamed at each other. And I thought, that's just so different. And it was like a little eye-opening that other people live differently in their, even in our communities.
Yeah.
So, so I thought of this, and so, was there anything, before we start in with Lisa, you can join in with this, so was there anything different that surprised you when you married or when you were dating your spouse to be, that you discovered, oh, I'm going to have to get used to that in my life? Well, I know you have. Go ahead.
I married a Chinese-born guy, and he would take me to restaurants, and you kind of now are the minority when you go into a restaurant. It's a different culture, a different food, different language, and you can feel it. So it was something to get used to.
Like feel like an outsider?
Yes, you do. And you're conscious of it all the time until you have been
You
around
get
it for so long.
acclimated to it,
Right.
yeah.
Right. But it was an adjustment, and I welcomed them because I studied a lot of languages.
Yes,
so
you did.
Yeah.
I love different cultures, but that's that took a while to get used to that feeling that now you're the minority when you were always
Right. That's
not.
good. And then you married an Irishman.
I did, yes. And we actually have 3 people in this room. My brother also married
Oh, that's right.
somebody different.
Well,
yeah,
my
a Filipino
ex-husband
cousin.
married a Filipino too.
Yeah. So, but I don't know.
Lacey, lay down.
I don't think I had that same reaction. I think when I look at my husband's family, we do things a lot the same. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of close because there's so many Irish Americans here
That's
too.
what I think. Yeah.
You know, with you, that's a whole
Yeah.
the Chinese
Yes.
culture and their customs are a whole different
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
And
You know, the
growing up, my
Irish-
best friend's mother, my best friend's, her parents were Irish. Well, her mother was from Ireland. So I kind of knew since I was 14. I guess I've been introduced to a lot of.
I was introduced to the Jewish culture because my roommates in college were all Jewish.
Oh, okay.
So, and I found them to be very similar to Italian. So.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, with me, I grew up in Brooklyn, so I was really exposed to a lot of different cultures. Because there were Hispanic people, there were Black people, there were Jewish people, there were Irish people, there were German people. It was like very, very mixed community.
Just like Cherubusco.
But I have to say one thing, because you said like when I got older, something that kind of like surprised me was on Thanksgiving, like my mother made stuffing, but we made potato stuffing.
Oh, okay.
It was made with mashed potatoes, and you use the poultry seasoning and the onions and the celery just like you would bread pudding. And I didn't know that there was such a thing as bread pudding. I really had never been exposed to it
I love it.
until I became an adult and I went somewhere else and I said, bread pudding? You make stuffing with bread? And it was such a shock to me because I grew up
That's
with
so
this
cute.
one thing. Yeah.
That's so
So-
funny. Wow. Well, where I grew up, it's a joke.
She had no sidewalk, folks. No
I had
sidewalk.
sidewalks. No, I grew up, there was one Jewish family that went to our school, and it was like, oh, there's a Jewish family. We were very kind to them. There was but it was just like you knew, and I feel bad for them to think of it. But it's like, and there was one, was there any people of color? I don't think so. But my family was very welcoming and open, and there was no prejudice or anything, but we just didn't we're around people like that. And it was just different for me when I moved to Long Island. I mean, it's like, I moved in with you guys not long after I got married, and different things that they made fun of me for different things, which is fine. But when I married in upstate New York, and trust me, weddings up there was a lot different than
Yeah.
weddings down
Yes.
here. And I don't regret the way I got married. I really don't. It was a very simple wedding. Actually, it was funny. Lisa and her siblings came to my wedding, and I didn't really know them that well. And that's a separate story in itself. But they're my pseudo kids. They really are.
That was another shock to me with the whole wedding thing outside of the New York area.
Yes.
Like we do it so big and
Yeah.
grand.
Grandiose, yeah.
And then I became friends with people who came from Ohio or, these other places. And they do it in the basement of the church.
Yes,
and maybe
yes.
it's potluck. And
Right.
Yep.
they don't do these grand
Right.
showers. And
Well, when my wedding, my mother had people bring food to my house after the ceremony, and then we went to this bar place. I won't say
a
club.
bar place.
A bar. Well, it was a bar, but it was like one of the places that you would have a wedding reception,
Yeah.
and it was. I don't think it was an open bar. I don't know if my father. But I hired a band, and it was a band I knew, and they were very good, even by down tier standards, they were very good. But that was it. I mean, it was just very basic. It was but I don't regret that. I don't long for that big
Yes.
Yeah.
fancy wedding. Sometimes I feel like it's just over the top.
It's too much.
I won't say who it was, but when this bride came up out of the floor in a globe, I'm like, oh, give me a break.
Was that venue right here? It's here in Long Island. I know. Cafe, the Briand, Chateau Briand.
No, what was the
It-
Okay.
Oh, it was in Howard Beach. I don't remember.
Because Chateau
Yeah.
Briand has that, and when I was looking to get married, that's where my parents thought we should do it. And when I looked at this video, and coming up out of the floor, I go, no, just no. I go, please no.
Your wedding was very tasteful and nice. I got married in my living room. I
Oh,
got
that's
married
right.
in my
Yeah.
living room with not even my whole family because we were so poor. We had no money.
Oh.
And there was very few people there. And I borrowed a sundress from my sister.
Oh,
Nice.
And we had like
and that's
cake and champagne.
because
There you
what, it
go.
wasn't to me that and even though I'm divorced, I was genuinely in love with my husband, and that was what my focus was.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Lisa, tell me about your wedding when you're marrying a Chinese man.
Okay, well, first of all, my husband did not tell his parents that we were engaged or going out until about 4 months before our wedding.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
So then,
So you hadn't met his parents yet?
nope.
Oh.
I had to pretend that I didn't live in my own home.
Oh.
So, yes.
What do you mean?
Because you were
Because
living
we had a
with
co-op at the time.
Oh.
So you were living with
Oh,
him.
you were living with Chuck?
Yes.
Oh,
And I
okay.
had to pretend I was not.
Oh, okay.
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 Anyway.
Because you'd be a floozy then. That's
And
what they would
he
say,
was always
yeah.
under the assumption that they wanted him to marry someone Chinese.
Yeah.
Which, for language-wise, I get it because there
Right,
are
right.
many times I wished I could have spoken to
Yeah.
them. In the end, they loved us. They loved
Right,
me, and
right,
I
yeah,
loved
yeah.
them. Meanwhile, we were planning our wedding, a traditional Long Island wedding.
Mm-hmm.
His family had one table at the wedding. My family had
The rest.
there were 180 people there,
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
and I used to work for a catering hall, so I knew the
Yeah.
The-
It was on the
the
golf
owner.
course. It was.
in Brentwood.
Yeah.
And after we had our wedding, and they followed, they were very respectful, followed all of our traditions, and his grandmother insisted on us having a Chinese banquet after. So we went on our honeymoon, came back a month later, we had the Chinese banquet, which basically is like a 10-course Chinese banquet. And they have, you go from table to table, drinking whiskey with everybody,
Nice.
congratulating you. And the food was very, very different. Shark fin soup.
Oh, right.
Squab, and everything is looking at you, and you're not used to
My
that.
brother's shaking his head. He's like, yeah.
And I had my sister and my brother. They saw Pringles come out, and they were fighting for Pringles.
Pringles?
Yes, and his parents, because oranges are like a very
Like
traditional
yes.
gift or offering. So they offered them to my parents, and they said, and Kathy looked at my father and said, "I'll give you $10 for that orange," because they were not used to the food.
Right.
I mean, I had started to grow used to what they were serving because I've been to a couple different events, and there was no music except for in the background.
Right.
It was in a Chinese restaurant basically, but they normally at a wedding they would have several changes of clothing, where you start off in the traditional white wedding dress, which I already had, so they kind of forego that for me, and then you change into usually something red, a red
Right,
dress.
I was
So
gonna say
I bought a red dress, not their traditional, but a
Right.
red dress, and that's pretty much what I wore throughout it. But pretty much I have been to his cousin's weddings, and they have these silly little traditions with being blindfolded and trying to eat like weird food on a stick, and that. Thank God they did not try that with me.
But then, wasn't it on your actual wedding day? Didn't you have to take a break and have a tea?
Well, on my wedding day, where on Long Island, normally you're with your whole wedding party and you're celebrating together. We had to go back to our co-op and meet with his parents.
That you hadn't lived in yet.
That's right.
And meet his parents, and we did a tea ceremony. And basically you serve the parents tea, and they offer you gold. So when I came back to the reception after the wedding, everyone was like, what happened to you? Like I had a lot of gold
right?
necklaces and
and you had to wear
bangles and rings, and yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. So it was
Do you
very
still have them?
no.
What, you hawk them?
I had to. I have to survive on Long Island.
Yeah.
But I have some. But
It's
So
interesting.
but I do have, after Chuck's parents passed, I have quite a bit left in that.
Right.
So this, Chinese gold is very different.
But this
than,
is what you did for love, because you love Chuck, and this is what you want.
Yes,
Now,
yes,
what did
and it's
Chuck-
respect, and you learn each other's
respect.
cultures, and you learn to respect each other. And
Right.
I know his father; he loved me, and his grandchildren. They were like the world.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
Well, in the UK, for example, it's traditional for a couple who marry to freeze the top of their wedding cake, and that's what actually Rob and I did.
We
Yeah, a lot
tried
of
that,
people
and
did,
the
yeah.
freezer
So when
went
I read
bad,
that,
so
yeah,
that
and-
didn't work.
And you eat it. What
We tried that. The freezer went bad, and
oh no!
that didn't work.
Yeah, we ate ours a year later. Let's say, and it's supposed to bring the couple luck. In Norway, brides wear crowns to deflect evil spirits, which I found very interesting. One Norwegian tradition states that the bride will wear an ornate silver or gold crown that has small charms dangling all around it. When she moves, the tinkling sound is supposed to deflect those evil spirits.
Or mother-in-laws.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Mexico. During the ceremony, as a Mexican couple is exchanging their vows, a lasso made of rosary beads and flowers is draped around their shoulders in the shape of a figure 8. Not only does a lasso represent the union of the couple, but its shape also resembles the infinity symbol, signifying just how long they're hoping the marriage will last. I thought that was kind of funny. There's so much with that, but let's move on because there's so much time here. Funerals. Is there any traditions with funerals that you would
Yes.
like to share?
Yeah.
Sherlock,
in
no.
the Chinese culture,
And I went to Chuck's mother's
Mothers,
funeral.
yes. yeah.
Sherlock.
When you go in, they do, if they choose, most do choose to be buried in the ground, not to be cremated. And they have in front of the coffin a meal prepared. So
Yes.
they have chicken, and they have the oranges, and they have tea, and that's for them. Then the people,
For
The
the person.
dead person.
yes, the people sitting mourning,
Stop.
they are making paper,
Yes.
what looks like gold bars.
And I remember we had to do that.
And you just kept making them
Yes.
throughout the entire process.
They're out of
And then you
paper?
would bring them
Yes.
to the inferno and burn them. And that would send the money, the prosperity up to the person who passed away. So they would
Okay.
have that.
Yeah, so they have some money to spend. up
Right,
there.
because apparently the Chinese culture is all about prosperity.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Oh, so it's
Yes.
not like paying
Even-
the river ferry to go cross over to the.
Yes,
The river-
and even after they're
Remember?
gone and buried, once a year they do go to the cemetery and bring food, and they burn incense and the paper gold bars,
Right.
and they burn that right at the grave
grave?
site. Yes,
Oh,
you
that's
bring
interesting.
a big metal pot and you
Cauldron?
burn it. Yeah, so.
Witches.
Chuck would have to bring in
Wow.
his little the poker to move the stuff around.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so that's
Wow.
they do that, and they bring in the full
That's at the
chicken
one-
and everything
that's
else.
the
They bring
1
all
year,
the food.
The 1 year anniversary? You
No,
don't do it
every year. Every
Do
year.
you guys do that?
We have not. His father told us don't do it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that would be so interesting
Yeah.
to do it. If you ever do it, let us know. We'll go.
Well,
Yeah.
when I went to the wake, was it considered
Yeah,
a wake?
it's a wake. Yeah,
Yeah, when I went and I was like, Kathy was making me laugh, and I'm
of
like,
course she was.
But I mean, I was very respectful, but I'm like, they're like, here, do these papers. I'm like, do what with the papers? What am I doing?
Take
And then-
notes.
but I gotta say, I was a little freaked out. It sounds so bizarre. When I saw the inferno, I go, are we gonna watch her being put in there? Like,
Oh
I
no,
really,
yeah,
I
it's
was
to
really
burn
like,
them. It's and
It's a big,
incense.
big
You bow 3
oven type
times
thing.
Oh.
in front of the casket with the incense in your hand, and then they'll take it away and put it in a pot and just. There's
But the
a lot
body
of
gets
incense.
buried.
Yeah, and
But
but
you turn
but
your
bowing
back.
3 times is definitely a
So it's a very solemn
thing.
thing. There wouldn't
Yes,
be.
and when you
Yes.
are being
Yeah.
lowered into the ground, everybody must turn away.
Yeah.
Because
Oh.
that would that affects their spirit going up to heaven.
Oh.
Which wasn't
Interesting.
explained to me, but I just
Carol's
followed-
looking
Yeah.
at like.
No, he told everyone.
I
They
thought-
tell you to turn around.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Yeah, and they'll
but I
say it
didn't
in
know
both
what.
English and Chinese, so
Right, right.
everybody understands.
But yeah, no, I found that very, very interesting, and it was just,
Yes.
but in Tibet, there's a thing, it's sky burial among the Buddhists who believe the value of sending their loved ones' souls toward heaven. So in this ritual, the bodies are left outside, often cut into pieces, for birds and other animals to devour.
Oh.
And this serves the dual purpose of eliminating now the empty vessel of the body and allowing the soul to depart, so that they bring it up
Oh,
to the
okay.
to the sky, right? So there's also Dancing with the Dead, and this is in Madagascar. And the Malagasy people, that's a funny word.
They're very gassy.
Right,
I
real,
heard, yeah.
exactly. Open the tombs of their dead every few years
Oh.
and rewrap them in fresh burial clothes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, each time the dead get fresh wrappings, they also get a fresh dance near the tomb while music plays all around.
Oh, okay.
And
That
this,
must be a gruesome thing.
I
I
can't
bet you
even.
there's got to be people who you hire to do that. 'Cause I just
That's a
right?
good- that's a
because I
good
don't know
point.
Yeah, I
how many
can't see
people
like
wanna,
doing that to your mom.
Yeah, like
Yeah, no, oh my god.
it's been
Well,
5 years. Let me go change those
well,
bandages.
It's
you know.
interesting because when I think it was you were quite young, and I was saying when somebody passed away, maybe an uncle of mine, and I said that, they asked Jason or somebody to help carry the coffin. You went, ooh, that's disgusting. They
To
usually
carry
had,
the coffin?
yeah, because usually they had
Pallbearers.
people, yes, they had pallbearers that were with the church or not family
I don't
members.
think it was me.
Maybe not,
Yeah.
but it was like a weird thing. I'm like, oh no, upstate, your family members do it.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
it family
Yeah.
members.
Right,
here.
yeah,
do that.
right, which
I
is,
seem
which
to
is,
remember that too.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's why I thought that was interesting. Oh, I didn't know if that was just an upstate. That's what I always question. Like, is this just an upstate thing, or
No, they do that here.
yeah? And so
I
that,
know, and somebody had told me, and I don't remember which culture it happens in, maybe the Italians, and like the real Italians, not Italian Americans, that they used to hire grievers.
Oh,
Well,
mourners.
that's Mexican.
Yeah,
That's
and the women like throwing
Yes.
themselves on
Yeah.
the coffin and
Yes.
crying and wailing
Yes.
well, that was Joe Peralta.
Yeah,
and Joe Peralta went to my mother's wake. Now I'm Irish,
Yeah.
and at an Irish wake,
It's different.
it's everybody's
It's a celebration.
laughing and oh my
Yes.
God, how are you?
Yes, yes.
And Joe Peralta said, "What the hell
Yes.
is going on here? He's Mexican." And he said, "Oh my God, everybody's throwing themselves on a coffin in a
Yes.
Mexican wake." He said, "What the hell? This is like a big party."
He got mad at me because Peggy got up and stood and talked and thanked people for coming. And this is right near April Fool's Day. So this was on April Fool's Day that.
And my mom died on March
March
31st.
No, 30th.
the one that wasn't your birthday.
Right, the
30th.
30th. But it was April 1st, that was at the coffin, and she gets, and I'm like, Peggy, you're not zipped up. And she goes, what? I'm like, April Fool's, and Joe goes, Carol, like, we're on a wake, and I'm going, why? We're laughing.
Yeah, it is.
It's not like,
Yeah.
a child. I mean,
Yes.
and of course it's sad. I'm not saying it's not sad.
No, but
Yeah.
you're right. It's a
Well,
different tone.
I've
Yeah.
been to Jewish shivers. Where it's basically everybody just getting
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
but all mirrors are covered.
Yes, yes.
So it's
That's a good point.
yes.
Well, in some cultures too, they stop the clocks as well. Like,
Yes,
Yes.
And
yes.
and you're right. They cover the mirrors and they open the doors as well. The windows.
And the window, you're
so
supposed to
that-
open the window
so
to
that
let
the
the
soul
spirit
can
fly
come
out.
out as well.
I stayed in a hotel once when I was a GM for Borders,
I remember.
and I had my own room for some reason because that usually didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I went into the hotel room, and like I'm a big fan of vampires, and I read a lot of
We know.
horror.
Yeah.
And I went into the room, and all the mirrors were covered, and my
Oh,
brain, my imaginative brain, I said, "Oh my God, there were vampires in here! What? This is so creepy."
that was another thing like that I just remembered at the Chinese funerals where they would give you little flowers to wear in your hair if you were part of the family, and different colors represented who you were, and they would give you a nickel
I was
at
just
the
gonna
end
say that.
of
Yes.
they would hand them out at the gravesite, and you were supposed to spend it that day
Yes.
on something
Oh.
sweet, like a sweet
Oh.
piece of candy.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
I think I still
I
have
just
that
remember
nickel.
that.
Because I know I didn't get to
I know.
spend it on
Kathy,
anything.
Kathy carries the envelope.
Oh, really?
She
Yeah.
calls it Grandpa's money.
You still have the nickel?
Yeah, somewhere, yeah.
Oh, you have to buy a sweet treat.
I know.
You just
Give me
want more
5
candy.
cents and I'll give you an M&M.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Well, okay, so let's move on. All right, there were so many other traditions, but I know, anyway.
Well-
When your boys were born,
Mhm.
was there anything with the Chinese culture that you found to be different from the Italian culture?
Not a lot, except for the first month. Again, it was a ceremony where the boys were presented with gold.
Oh, okay.
So they have gold bracelets that
They
were
put them on them?
yes,
When they're babies?
baby size. Yes.
Would that be whether they were boys or girls?
Good question.
Yes.
Because I know boys are
Yes.
usually in that culture.
Yeah,
are
they're more
very-
valued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good question,
No.
yeah.
That any child. And,
Okay.
And they were also given names. Their Chinese names.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So
What are their Chinese
I
names?
forget Luke's, but Matt's was Tatwa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's not on their birth certificate.
no.
Okay.
No. Because I filled out the birth certificate in the hospital. So.
Right, right.
Okay.
But yeah.
Wow, okay. Yeah, well, it's funny you said that because both my daughters are Korean. I adopted, and one's Yojin Kim.
I didn't know
That is Natasha, and Corey's Jong Lim Lee. Yeah.
That's on their birth certificates?
No, that's, well, their visa, is it on their actual birth certificates? I'm gonna have to, no, it's not, it's on
They
their visa.
adoption
Probably
papers?
would've-
The
Yeah,
adoption
the adoption.
papers, yeah.
My nephew was born in Korea, and his name is Daniel,
Right.
but Daniel Cato, his middle
Oh,
name
okay,
is.
well, I like that.
And my niece, who's the same family, her name is Kathleen So Young.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cute.
Yeah.
Well, what about with you, with your daughters being born in the Irish?
I actually feel very inadequate here. No, it was such an easy
Right.
melding of the
Mhm.
two
Right.
cultures with Niall and I. Right, Andrew? Like, I don't think there was anything different too much.
How about you, Andrew, with the Philippine? And you want to jump in with
Yeah.
anything that we're talking about?
I don't want to steal your guys' conversation, but you
No,
know, how's
no.
You know,
that? A couple things I'll say is, marrying a Filipino woman, just big picture. Like, we come from a society where I'd say since post World War II, we've been more oriented towards capitalism, competition geared, things like that, right? And we can debate, the righteousness of that, or I think that's not the point. But when you go to a country like the Philippines, where I say like, yes, they're semi-democratic. There's different spectrum there. And they're about 90% Catholic, so there's similar Judeo-Christian ethic there, with at least a portion of our society. That being said, I'd say it's less. We say we're all about family here, but Judy will tell you that we grew up in Long Island most of our lives, and I'm not as close with, say, most of our relatives out here. Right, for
True.
various reasons. You see much formal events and things like that.
Right.
Whereas my wife, she's lived over here for the past 35 years, and she's still heavily involved in every single one of her sisters, brothers, nieces, cousins, and I'm not just talking about first cousins, second, third, fourth,
Really?
everything. And she's like the matriarch and is heavily involved with all of them. And so my point is, like, family isn't just an important value to them; it's like the number one. It's everything. And so that was a very different lens I had to put on and try to integrate myself with that.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, it's good, but as far it makes you have to understand how it drives her behavior, right? And so going back to what I was talking about in your previous podcast about values, where people usually come into conflict, and as a family, any families, regardless of the same culture or not, is certain people come with a certain set of values,
Yes.
and then you bring another person with a different set of values. And you combine those two together, you're likely to have conflicts. So it's very important to understand,
Yeah.
what's different about you and what's common, and
Right.
and form your own organization or family set of values to make sure you're on the same page there.
Well,
And I learned that, between us.
Right, no, that makes sense. My daughter-in-law is, her family's from Poland, and so, when her mother is obviously, well, her father couldn't be at the wedding, he was very, very sick, he passed since, but, they had just different Polish things, and you respect that, and, there wasn't a whole lot of different things, because I think they came from Poland, but they were very Americanized,
yes.
but, and it's like you said, that you have to respect that culture and learn from it. It's
Right.
I think
Learn from it, accept it, enjoy it, really.
Yeah.
Be curious about it.
Oh, there you go.
Because it's going to be a part of your life. You've entered into this
Especially
knowing
if you have
that.
kids that you're coming.
Well, when I first met my husband, my father, who is
Yeah, it was.
he was Archie Bunker,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And he first said, well, what if you two get serious? I said, yeah. And he said, well, what if you have children? I'm like, yeah. And let me tell you, he became the biggest advocate of my son when he was born, that he told his brother, who was also very biased and prejudiced, his brother had a black grandchild that he refused to see. And he told my uncle to cut the crap, that your grandchild is the greatest thing you'll ever have, and embrace it.
Right.
Don't let it go with all this hate.
Yeah.
So
Well, it wasn't so much a culture; it was religion with me. When I had Jason, and you know, because we left the Catholic Church and we were very involved in the Baptist church, and there was a lot of people that were so upset with us that we didn't get him baptized because he was going to go to hell if he died. And I love my friend. But you know, it was just like, you know, but you know, I stuck to my guns, and I think I would have a problem with somebody with a lot of these traditions because they're woo-woo. You know, some things that I just couldn't believe. I'm
Right.
like, no, I can't. But if I don't know, it's very tricky. It's very tricky.
It is. Well, you know, the one thing I do have to say, when I was dating Niall, you know, knowing what I know about Ireland, and because I'd been there before, you know, I met my husband, and I know it's very Catholic, and I'm not Catholic
Yeah.
anymore, you know, and I was like, oh, what are my in-laws going to be like? Are they going to want? Because we didn't get married in a church,
Right.
you know, and we didn't do a lot of any of the rituals, you know, even raising children, we don't do any of that.
Right.
But I think I just, like, I struck gold. I have the best in-laws, you know, and
That's
they're
right.
very, you know, never meddled in any of that as far as opinion.
That's
Are you going to have
great.
an opinion? Are you going to get them baptized?
But I do
Nothing like
believe
that. I thought that
that a
was
lot of
wonderful.
that is because you are who you are. I think that people bring into a relationship, well, any culture, if you have a respect, they're going to accept you and honor you, and as long as you respect, I
Right.
think that's the biggest part of it.
Right.
Maybe.
I mean, you can have different opinions.
Right. Right.
But if you don't, like, say your way is wrong or we're going to do it this way
Right.
only,
Right.
then things will work out much smoother.
Right. Right.
Much smoother.
Possibly.
Well, I have so many notes here, but we are running out of time. But the
Good
point,
topic.
Well, the point of mine is that, you know, we get so locked into our own world and our own cultures, and
Yeah.
we don't accept other cultures.
And
we
it's
don't-
happening more. Look, I mean, just
Yes.
to say, look, we're in a room with, and the majority of people here are married to spouses that were born in different cultures.
Well, that would
Well,
be nice.
and as I
But-
said,
yeah.
my father was Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
There was me with my Chinese husband, my sister with her
Oh,
Gay, her life.
lesbian
Right.
English
English,
partner.
British.
And my brother, who was with somebody who was from Mexico and somebody who was from Brazil, who we love them to
Yes.
pieces.
Yes. Guys.
So,
men.
and guys.
Yeah.
So, yes, we put Archie Bunker in his place.
If I could make one last comment, this
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, you know, this is not a plug for the military or anything, but one of you said, because you care about other cultures are fun too, like it's fun or something like that. My point, like, so, you know, I thought Long Island was the end all be all of the world, right, when I was growing up and everything, but when you get out there, whether it's just traveling or being in the military, me, I've not only traveled and explored many different places, but I've gotten to work with exceptional people from many different nations.
Yes.
And it just opens your aperture.
Oh,
right?
I
And
love
you get-
that.
It
and-
sure does.
And
Yes,
it,
it does.
you get to realize that there's so much beauty and amazing people out there. And yeah, it's all different, but different isn't necessarily scary.
Absolutely.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Different can be so much fun learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also intermingling with people from different generations.
Yes.
Yes.
And like
Yes.
you can't overlook that.
Yeah.
You know, like the differences between my parents' beliefs.
Mhm.
When my husband and I, we moved in together, we
Yeah.
weren't married. My father said I was living in sin.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And it took a while, but he came around to it and he loved my husband. But also, like, even with my friendships, like, you're much younger than I am, you're much younger than I am, you're a little bit younger than I am. But, you know, I have, you know, like,
Yeah.
Teresa
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Janelle, and they're all different generations.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
my children, and then my grandchildren.
Yes.
It just opens up your whole world and makes you see the world in a different light.
I absolutely love it. And I
Yes.
gotta say, this summer, when Peggy and I went to Europe, it was a trip that I wasn't sure how, and I just absolutely loved it. And I love Paris. I still,
Yeah.
even though
Well,
we
you
didn't
know, I
get to-
keep on thinking about Paris. I said we have to go back. We didn't do enough
we
in
didn't
Paris.
do enough in Paris,
Well, I'm
but
going.
we'll go.
We'll do that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your patience because
Yeah.
we
Yeah, this was a long
this
one.
was
It was a
long
good
one.
topic.
But thank you for listening. Thank you, Andrew, for participating.
Yes.
We
Yay.
really appreciate
That was
it.
a timely visit.
Yeah, it really was.
It was.
I wish he would come back. We have to have
Oh,
them.
yeah.
If we give them wine, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can have me and
Bye,
Amy.
everybody.
Bye.